Thank you. We're almost at full complement here. We're listening to, but on my left is Marianne Beck, member at large. Chuck Keiser is the select board ex officio representative. Next to him is Todd Goings and Jim Hersey on the end. Jim Hansen is new and he's ailing. And Mark Heller is traveling. Brian Gilman is our school board representative. And I think that's it.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask Dean Barker, the chair of the school board, to introduce school board members.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me? Hi, I'm Dean. I'm the Dean Barker, chair of the Andover School Board. We've got Amy Menard here tonight, our vice chair. We have Adam Jones, and we have Brian Gilman, who, as Arch mentioned, is the ex officio member for the budget committee as well. Teresa Georges is also with us on the board, but she is on the record, is not here tonight. Thank you.
And then I'll introduce Mark McLean, who's our superintendent, and Randy Normal, who's our assistant superintendent. This is Jim Shaughnessy. He is the school district's legal counsel. Christy Cole is our clerk. And I'm going to introduce Adrienne Summers, who is as the assistant moderator. She has been on this job for next year, so it's her opportunity to see how it all works. So good evening. My name is Betsy Lane, and I'm your school moderator. And now I'm going to acknowledge first Jane. Here she is in the back of the room. Jane has our students here, and they're going to go ahead and do a couple of different things for us this evening.
I'm going to start with the pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And although our play Wizard of Oz is still a few weeks away, we do have a sneak preview of a number from it tonight. So enjoy.
She
positively, absolutely,
undeniably, and reliably dead.
As coroner time of American thoroughly examined her, and she is not only merely dead, she's really most sincerely dead.
This is Day of Independence for all munchkins and their descendants, if any. Yes, let the joyous news be spread, the wicked old witch at last is dead. We know which is dead, which opens the wicked witch. Let them know wicked witch is dead. We represent the lullaby league, the lullaby league, the lullaby league, and in the name of the lullaby league, we wish to welcome you to We represent the lollipop tune, the lollipop tune, the lollipop tune, and in the name of the lollipop tune, we wish to welcome you to Munchkinland. We welcome you to Munchkinland, tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la, tra-la-la. From now on, you'll be history. You'll be history.
you'll be his.
You'll be history, and we will glorify your name. You will be a bus, be a bus,
Be a bus.
in the Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much. We'll all look forward to the full production in a couple of weeks. I would also like to introduce Robin Hines, who is from the school district, and Judith Turk from the school district, and Kathleen Boucher from the school district. So we can now get on. We have a few more things to take care of. I'm going to recognize Dean Barker come to the podium.
So, at the expense of belaboring the meeting, I have a number of important milestones to recognize this evening. And going through it, it was just so remarkable to me, the number of people that make this school run and run so well, and the job that they do. And it's not going to be easy for me to go through this because there's some really special people on this list, but I'm going to do my best. So, starting with our own school board, we've got Brian Gilman will be leaving us, finishing his term on the school board this year. We're so appreciative of his service. He has an engineer's mind, and I've learned from our meetings that I always need to wait and pause for a minute because I know that he's thinking about some numbers and is skeptical about something and wants to add extra questions to further. He is a great scrutinizer, and I really appreciate that about his service because he's made our numbers sharper and better. And he's also done yeoman's work for assisting with the position on the budget committee, so that's a lot of meetings. And so I want to thank Brian Gilman for his service. Thank you, Brian. Next. So we have a business manager at the SAU who is retiring this year after, I believe, 35 years of service to the school. He probably doesn't want me saying anything. Her name is Robin Hines, and if there are some people who are sort of maybe invisible to the day-to-day operations physically here, but who are absolutely essential to keeping this school running and functioning well and rescuing us on so many occasions. She has the sharpest mind for numbers that I know. She communicates faster than anyone I know, even maybe Mark, and that's saying something. I will email her at 8:05 on a Sunday night, and I'll get an answer at 8:06. And it's usually on a very small number, and she's just always got the concern of the school. And furthermore, this concern is based out of caring for the children of this place. And so it's going to be very hard to run this place without her. We will do our best. We have hired a new business manager, is that correct, Mark? But I wanted to take this opportunity to recognize the incredible 35-year service to the district of Robin Hines. Thank you, Robin. Speaking of 35, well, I hope I have this right. There was some dispute. And speaking of people who keep this place running in ways that are just remarkable, I would like to recognize that this year is the retiring year for Gail Toronto. Anyone who works in education knows that the person in Gail's position is the person actually running the building. She is here early. She cares for the kids, absolutely. And she is there in so many different ways. I think a lot about my own mother. Gail's much younger. But my own mother was in a similar position at a corporation, and those are the people that keep the place running. So I'm another huge hole of institutional knowledge and memory and caring is leaving this year with Gail. We give her a thank you. But wait, there's more. So, now that we said goodbye to two irreplaceable members of the community, it's time to also talk about the retirement of another veteran of this community who is the actual, the son of the solar system of this place. She is the soul of Andover Elementary Middle School. 24 years, I believe, is correct. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But another person who doesn't like to get the limelight, but I'm going to try to do my best anyway. Jane Slayton has been the principal here for many, many years. I know that she is the reason so many parents feel great about sending their kids to school here each and every day, that the teachers here feel so good about working at this place. She is the heart of this school. I don't even know how to express it otherwise. She's here, she's the earliest person here, she's the last person to leave. Her car basically, I don't know if her car moves when the parking lot. We were joking with the facilities upgrade that maybe we should put a little cot in or a bed in the office because she's here so often and she cares so deeply about the school. And in my short time here, in just the 5 years that I've been on the board and the 9 years that I've had a child at the school, I have learned to trust her absolutely. Her word is bond for me. She knows this place and she knows what's good for the school. So will you join me in honoring Jane Slayton? Done, but I'm going to recognize Randy for this one. Randy Wormold, our assistant principal. Assistant superintendent.
So, understanding that there's no replacing Jane, I am pleased to announce that the board tonight accepted the nomination of Dennis Doe to be the next principal of Andover Elementary School. Dennis was chosen out of a pool of 24 applicants. And the search process involves over 50 people from the community and the staff in multiple rounds of interviews and screening. And Dennis has served New Hampshire Public Schools for over 30 years, and from a special ed teacher to a high school and a middle school social studies teacher, to then various assistant principal and principal jobs around the state in very varied communities. A statement from Dennis was that he views the opportunity to serve the community of Andover as a dream come true and the culminating appointment of his career. So I just got off the phone with him, and he's tremendously excited to be part of the community. So we welcome Dennis here to Andover.
Last one, I promise. So with all of these retirements and so much institutional knowledge leaving this place this year, it gives me great pleasure to know about some of the people who are sticking around. And one of them received a pretty big honor this year. And I wanted to make sure that the town was aware of it. The New Hampshire School Board Association, do I have that right, Randy? They have this award called Superintendent of the Year. And I heard that our own superintendent, Mark McLean, was in the running for it. So I and a few other people, we did whatever we could to assist in this nomination process. And I remember joking, I don't know if I was joking to Randy about this or to Robin. I said, when, not if he wins it, but when he wins it, I hope he'll stick around with us for a little while. So I'm glad that I said when, because it turns out that, in fact, our own superintendent, Mark McLean, is the superintendent of the year this year. And it is a very well-earned honor. I have rarely worked with a person who communicated so effectively and so well across so many different constituencies. I've worked with a number of superintendents in my career as a teacher, and you guys got a good one here. Let me tell you, he is so helpful in outreach and making sure that everyone has a voice at the table. So I'd like to recognize Mark McLean, superintendent.
All right, we are going to move on to the meeting. I'm going to ask any out-of-town voters to please stand up and identify yourselves. And this is for all of you to appreciate that we know that these folks are here mostly from the SAU for informational purposes for the meeting. You are the legislative body of the town, and they can help answer questions, which is why they are here. They are not allowed to vote, so I just wanted to identify them. Speaking of the rules of the meeting, they were in the beacon, and I'm just going to go over them briefly, and I'm going to invite everybody to take a seat. So folks at the back, unless you have issues that prevent you from taking a seat, please find a seat. Please practice civility and respect. Before you speak, be recognized by me, the moderator. Keep in mind that you should cover all of your points. You may not get a chance to speak again on any one particular topic. Non-voters must have the permission of the meeting to speak, except the moderator will allow non-resident school or town officials and consultants or experts who are at the meeting to provide information about an article. Everyone has the right to speak, one person at a time at the microphone. Please introduce yourself and state where you live. Christy is tasked with keeping the minutes of this meeting, and the minutes will be kept in the annual report, so she needs to know who's speaking and where you're from. Thank you. If you are asking a question, you may follow up or clarify, depending on how the exchange goes. Please add to previous comments. Don't repeat things that have been said before. All the discussion should be through the moderator. Don't be talking to each other on the floor, please. Motions. Motions must be moved and seconded, and the mover will have the right to speak first. One motion or amendment at a time. Any amendments need to be in writing, and any amendments involving money must include a dollar amount. Only registered voters can vote. Reminder that the meeting represents the legislative body of the district. The school board is the governing body. Any vote on a bond issue over $100,000 must be voted on by secret ballot. We don't have anything on the warrant this year. Motions to reconsider an article may only be made immediately after the vote on the article and may only be made by a voter who voted on the prevailing side of the vote to be reconsidered. I have articulated some of the restrictions on a motion to reconsider, and I'm not going to read those unless someone needs me to read them aloud. Are we set to go? Okay. I would ask the meeting's permission to waive a reading of the full warrant. I'm going to read each article in turn, but I'm not going to necessarily read the full warrant to you beforehand. Do I have the permission of the meeting? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, let's go. Article 1. To see if the district will vote to accept the reports of officials, agents, auditors, and/or committees as printed in the school district report. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Brad Hardy? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 1 passes. Article 2. To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,819,721 for the support of schools, for the payment of salaries of the school district officers and agents, and for the payment of statutory obligations of said district, and to authorize the application against said appropriation of such sums that are estimated to be raised from the state's equalization payment together with the other income. The school board shall certify to the selectmen of Andover the amount to be raised by taxation of said town. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I'm going to recognize Arch Weathers, the chair of the Budget Committee, to address Article 2.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening, everyone. Before presenting the Budget Committee's recommendation, as the chair of the committee, I recognize and so value the clear thinking that's imbued in the Budget Committee, the school board, and the SAU administration. It's critical. It's fair, it's impartial. Beyond them are the principal, teachers, administrative and support staff, those that are responsible for maintaining the physical plant, and let's not forget the men and women that pick up and deliver children to and from school every day, and countless others that fill the gap. Recommending a budget that seeks to provide the necessary funding that allows our school to function at a truly exceptional level, thanks to these individuals, is becoming more and more difficult because of funding cuts at the state level and, of course, the reliance on the property tax as the sole means of raising those funds. The Budget Committee and the school board have also earned a bit of a statewide reputation for working in a very cooperative and productive manner. While there are times when our recommendation to the voters differs from that of the school board in their presentation to us, I'm always confident, and have been ever since I became the chair, that at the end of the day, the voters do return a budget that's appropriately tailored to the needs of our students. The committee's proposed budget this year of $5,867,386, that includes warrant articles, is up 3.7% over last year. If we were to use estimated revenue, it's always dangerous, but you never know what it is, but using the offsetting revenues, this would result in an increase in the tax rate of about 25 cents, slightly less than 2%. Thus, a property valued at $300,000 would see an increase in the school tax component of about $75. I will summarize the major areas of the net increases and decreases in the Budget Committee's recommended operational budget. The school board will expand on the details in a moment. High school tuition is up $70,435. Maintenance and operations, and again, this is the Budget Committee's recommended budget, approximately $35,000. Grounds, $14,000. And collective bargaining, including retirement, longevity stipends, and so on, totaling approximately $76,000. Areas of net decreases are special ed and administration due to retirement. They collectively total just less than $40,000. I now believe the moderator will recognize a member of the school board to discuss their original proposal, and our committee members will be available to answer questions that may arise from that discussion.
Moderator recognizes Dean Barker.
Thank you, Arch, and thank you, Budget Committee. If it pleases the town, I could go through the school board budget as proposed, the major net increases and decreases, and then Ryan and perhaps Mark will speak to the difference that we had initially proposed. If that's okay. So this would be on page 8 of your report. And I think, as I said last year, I guess I'll just go through the major items, and then if there are questions at the end, we can address them. And then, as I said, Brian and Mark can speak to the difference between the Budget Committee and this original proposal. Yes. In the 1100 function in the regular ed, we have an increase due to high school tuition. That's a $140,000 increase, actually. But in that same function, there is a retirement of a teacher that is not being rehired, and that reduces that amount. So the total net increase for regular education is $70,435. Those two things happen to exist in the same line item, but they are not causal to each other. I just want to be clear about that. They're coincidental. We don't budget that way. It just so happens that we have an increase in one area and a decrease in another based on our budget decisions. There is, skipping down to, I'm going to go to the major ones. Function 1211, there is a $1,400 increase in salary for special education summer programs. In function 1410, an increase due to coaching stipends and co-curricular, workers' comp, and officials of $5,052. Functions 2140 to 2190 are special education. This is the part of the budget that can be very variable. It's hard to predict from year to year, but based on our best understanding of our special education needs, which are legally provided to have. For contracted services, behavior, speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, vision, and psychology, or psychiatric, we have 21,500. Moving down to hitting on the ones that are 4 digits. Function 2321, the SAU assessment. We have an increase due to the shift in equalized valuation, or the AVM. This is the amount that our school pays to help keep the SAU running. The other schools in the SAU in Merrimack Valley also contribute to that. So that's 1,723. That's sort of the price of doing business with the SAU. In operations and maintenance, and this is the major difference in what we had proposed. We have a $59,528 net increase. The majority of that is due to our proposal to go from a 2 full-time custodial staff to a 2.5 custodial staff, but one of those full-time positions would be as a plant manager. Would this be a good time to discuss that, or should I move on and then go back to that? What do you think? So, Brian, did you want to speak to the plant manager?
So the need for this line item increase, basically, as we know, we've done a lot of work with the school over the years. And Jane handles a great deal of the sort of emergency on-call things right now. With her retirement, her wealth of knowledge leading the school of how it operates. We feel that having somebody who's more experienced, that can provide a bit more maintenance oriented service, as well as be the on-call person for the school should there be a pipe burst or, God forbid, a total backs up in the basement like there is right now. And that's really the crux of why we're looking at doing this. In addition, the project that was completed last summer, there was over 2/3 of that dollar figure was spent upgrading the building from sort of sins of the past, so to speak. So they have somebody here that's on top of all of the ins and outs of the building, replacing door frames and rotting stairs and that kind of thing. We feel it's going to be better for the building and our investment in the long run.
Thank you. Mark, did you want to add to that? Or
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight, and congrats to everyone who is leaving. Don't go too far. We may have questions in the future. So I would just like to add that we didn't come to this proposal whimsically. We did quite a bit of analysis. We relied on expertise that we have in our partner district of the Merrimack Valley School District, and we spoke with the facilities director there and had an analysis of the building done based on square footage needs and based on proactive and capital improvement plans as we look forward. So as you know, through the recent building project, we also expanded the square footage here. And we feel as though we've been reactive to the building needs for too long. And that's not to disparage any of the work that's happened in this building. It's just what we've done. We haven't been proactive enough in the care and maintenance of the school. And we just invested $3.6 million to upgrade that. And we feel as though it would be foolhardy on our part to at least not suggest the fact that we need someone who speaks the language, who can liaise with vendors, who can shepherd and steward a proactive capital improvement plan, and who can serve as that tier 1 and tier 0 support when it comes to a boiler issue, or when it comes to something happening with the HVAC controls, or when it comes to siding or roofing or anything like that. So right now we're asking Jane and Gail and others to be roofers, to be novice plumbers, to crawl underneath floorboards to find out what's going on, to really go above and beyond, and they have for 24 years. Jane's been doing it for 35 years. Gail's been doing it. So we just feel as though this position will honestly pay for itself as we move forward, because we just need someone with that level of expertise.
Thank you, Mark. I would just add one, this is a small thing, but I think it's telling. Aside from the larger points made, as a school board, we meet every month and we get the financial report from Robin, and we're noticing overages in the custodial line. They're not that large, but they're growing. So what that's telling us is that the larger square footage of the area due to the facilities project we're not adequately covering right now with the amount of labor that we have, just in terms of leaving aside the duties of the plant manager. We appear to have more labor need in custodial than we currently have on our workforce. Moving to function 2721 on page 8 of the report, on the overview page, underneath grounds. We have, 2630 under grounds. We have, most of that $14,000 is due to snow removal. This is something that was paid for by the town in the past, and the town has asked us to pick up this charge. So ultimately, it goes to the taxpayers one way or the other, but now it's in our budget. Under regular transportation, we're looking at we just approved, I believe, a new, is it 5-year transportation contract, and the increase, net increase for that is $7,633. We have a $76,263 net increase in collective bargaining under the function 2900. A little unusual this year. That's a combination of two things. $34.8 34,800 of that amount roughly is due to the third year of the 3-year teacher contract. And then the other 36,000 is due to the fact that we have 3 retirements this year, and that's the separation pay. It's a little unusual to have that number of retirements in 1 year, so that explains that larger number. Leaving a total of increases to the, and I want to be clear here, this is the school board proposed budget, not the budget committee budget. The total net increase is $259,383. Going to areas of net decrease, we have a $28,627 net decrease in our 1210 special education function, and that's basically due to a retirement. So we have a retirement in special ed, two retirements in special ed. What year? We have a 1,000 reduction in library services in line 2220 due to a reduction in print media needs. We're hoping to lower legal expenses by 1,300 at line 2318. Going down to a major item in administration, a net decrease due to a retirement in administration of $10,828. That's function 2410. And then we're now in a new year of paying off the bond. So with every year that we pay off the bond, that's less in interest that we're paying off. So there is a $6,940 decrease in our annual bond interest for the coming year, and that's line 5120. So the total net decreases are $48,820. So if you take the net increase of $259,383 and you subtract the $48,820 of net decreases, you get a net total change of $210,564, which gives, and again, I want to be clear, this is the school board budget, not the budget committee budget that's on the warrant, of 3.72%. Also, if I could direct you to page 13 of the report, which is the revenue side. I want to caution, I think Art said it too, and I want to repeat what he said, that these are estimated. Right? It's not the same thing as budget numbers. And Mark, I hope you'll help me out on this. So we're looking at a fairly more positive year than in years past when it comes to estimated revenues. We have a fairly substantial increase in special education aid, estimated at $74,802. We have Medicaid distributions flat at $16,000. We have $4,000 in interest revenue. Kindergarten aid is no longer on there because it's been rolled into, if I'm correct, Mark, adequate education grant, and that's at $1,114,784. I believe that's a 30% increase, $33,000 increase. The statewide property tax is at $563,304. Other income $500, giving us a total general fund of revenue other than assessments of $1,773,390. We're estimating our fund balance to reduce taxes to be at $80,000 for the 2020-2021 year. Federal funds come in at $82,000. When you add up lunch and federal money for child nutrition and state child nutrition, we come to $77,000. The total, adding up all the total revenue that is other than assessments, gets us to $2,012,390. That is a net increase of $180,545. If you subtract that from the total budget, am I getting this right? Of the net increase of the total budget of $210,564, you get to $30,020. So if the estimates are accurate, it reduces the net increase percentage pretty dramatically. I think it goes from 3.72% to 0.79%. If I have that right, Mark, is that right? But again, these are estimates, and I also just want to be clear, this is the school board budget. So with that, I will
I'm going to open the floor for discussion and ask that people ask questions one at a time. And I would remind the meeting that the figure before you is $5,819,721. And that is the budget committee recommended budget for the school. Recognize Mr. Stetson, please come to the microphone.
Thank you. I have two questions. The first question, under line 1210, special education, there's a decrease due to retirements. Does that mean that the positions won't be filled, or that's just a cost savings with the longevity? Okay.
Yeah, so that's just because we have two veteran teachers leaving, and we have an agreement with the union where the maximum amount that we hire new teachers in.
Okay. My other question is regarding function 1100 and the reduction due to the loss of one teaching position through attrition. I'm just wondering if that's something that the principal, the superintendent, and the school board recommend. And the reason I'm asking is because our class sizes seem to be increasing, and at the same time we're looking to decrease the teaching position, which would further increase our class sizes. So I'm wondering if you can speak to that. It's my impression that the principal doesn't recommend it, so I'm just wondering where everybody stands on that.
Well, I can certainly speak to the SAU and the school board side of things, and James has been part of those conversations. And I can tell you that we haven't been arm wrestling over this. We've been talking about it, and we've been working in collaboration with the budget committee as well. We appreciate our effective partnership with the budget committee. When we look at projected numbers, that's usually what we use to indicate what we think our needs are going to be for teacher staffing in the subsequent years. Currently, we have about 246 students enrolled here in Andover. Our projections for next year are 234. So we're seeing a decrease of about 12 students. This year's kindergarten class has 25 students, and we have 2 teachers, one section of 13, one section of 12. This year's first grade has 19 students. We have 2 larger classes right now in second and third grade. They're certainly not atypical, but they're potentially atypical for Andover. We're lucky to have very skilled teachers. We have 24 students in second grade, and we have 23 students in third grade. As we look at projected enrollments for next year, kindergarten looks like we're only going to need 1 teacher, as opposed to the 2 teachers that we have this year. Next year, first grade will have 2 teachers with 25 total students, so we'll have that same smaller split of 13 and 12. Next year's second grade will have 19 students if numbers still remain steady. Next year's third grade will have 24. Next year's fourth grade will have 23. Fifth grade will have 35 with 2 teachers. Sixth grade will have 27 with 2 teachers. Seventh grade will have 32 with 2 teachers. And eighth grade will have 31 with 2 teachers. I should also note that we have 2 regular education classroom para support staff who are assigned to classes as a needed basis. So if we have any, it's really, as Jane just said earlier in the meeting and may have told folks already today, it's not necessarily the size of the classroom that indicates the supports that are necessary. It's oftentimes the mixture of kids and the needs that those students have. We also have a halftime teacher that we assign to classes, Brenda Lance as needed, and we have 1.5 reading intervention specialists that work with our students. We have 4 full-time specialists, full-time school counselor, full-time art, full-time music, and full-time technology, and we have a 4-day-a-week PE teacher. So just put that information out there for public consumption, and hopefully to allow people to grapple a bit with what we're looking at when it comes to numbers.
Please come to the microphone and state your name and ask your question.
Brad Hardy, 11 Poplar. So a couple of questions. I don't know if many, I haven't looked into the studies that, can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay, I haven't looked into any studies that correlate class size to education value. But I know that as, I guess semi-retired firefighter, I know that the span of control, the optimum span of control is 5 to 7. And that's 1 adult leading 4 to 5 monkeys. Do you know what I mean? These aren't younger adolescent kids who I think need more attention. So when I think about that, and I think about that's the effective span of control for a leader, it just floors me that our class sizes, I mean, this is the first year, right, that we've had like single classes, like most of the time, like we've had 2 classes for each grade, right?
No, I can speak to that. This is only a reduction of 1 classroom teaching position. As long as I've been here, we've had 15 classroom teachers. So the proposal is to move, no, that's true. The proposal is to move from 15 to 14. There has been no reduction of classroom teachers beyond that. And I've actually looked into the studies relative to class size. I could bore you all with them at Vanderbilt University and some other places. And honestly, when it comes to class size, it's, as I referenced earlier, it's more about the mix, the skill of the teacher, and some other external factors that really lend to it. You need a critical mass. A class size of 5 to 7 is actually limiting to the education process. You can't do collaboration, you can't do grouping, and it actually becomes something that's detrimental to students. So you actually need a critical mass so that you can do group work and you can teach collaboration, you can teach empathy and things of that nature.
Sure, I can definitely appreciate that. Well, so I guess I'm just going back to it still makes sense though to keep that 15th teacher. Another issue is that like our Title I funding for our reading specialists is going away this year. It's not that we don't have Title I funding, but I know that the school board or the budget, they hire a reading specialist, right? But the Title I money that we've spread out over, 3 years, that for that one position is disappearing. So now, one of the fundamental attributes to living in society today is being able to read. And it just doesn't make sense that I feel like we're doing all our kids a disservice by not providing more reading specialists. So I would actually make an amendment to add, I think it was 15.
Brad,
All the amendments need to be in writing.
Okay.
that Title I money is not going away. We'll have that moving forward. So Title I grants run on a 1 year, sometimes it's overlapping 2-year basis. We have Title II and we have Title IV. So that title money is not going away. So we're still funding the reading support position next year through Title I.
Okay. So for this coming budget year, we're supporting that reading specialist for 3 days a week?
Actually, how many days? 1 day from title, 2 days from general? Does that work? Or the way? Yeah. But we still have Title I funds. I'll actually bring.
So the Title I funding, there's a reading specialist here at school that kids that have 504 plans or just anybody that's having difficulties, public school is meant not to really manage the fringes of the students, but we definitely have to support the kids that are lacking in that capability. And so I don't know if now's the right time to make the amendment in writing but to ask the question, it seems to me that after talking to Mrs. Hatton, that, also one way to, I guess, leverage her skills and capabilities is to have her do the third day that she's now going to be missing out on, helping out as many students. Because in discussions with her, just basically, they can only do what they can do with one person, right? So they can only interact with so many kids. So by adding that third day, we're providing more interaction time, one-on-one time or whatever with the reading specialist, but then on the fourth day, she can do more professional development so that, which I understand comes from Title II money. And ultimately that would help leverage her skills and probably ultimately make what already is a great cadre of teachers even better.
Do you
Sorry.
have, I think, you've had several questions and several opportunities.
Right, so I think
are
I
we
was,
at the place where you're done?
Well, I don't know if now's the time to make the amendment.
It's up to you. You're the,
Okay. So I
you're the
would,
moving party.
sure, so I would make, I would move to amend, Article 2, is it?
Yep.
Sorry, I had it written down. This is,
A point of clarification.
Yes.
The body can amend the budget by a dollar amount and can indicate to the board its intent in doing so, but it is not binding on the board.
so I move to amend Article 2 with the following. To the tune of $75,000 or whatever would hire,
It needs to be for a specific amount.
so I was told $75,000 would hire back the 15th teacher. And that includes retirement. And I would also move to add the funding of $15,000.
One motion at a time. Okay, so we have on the floor, and I'm assuming I'm going to get it in writing, a motion to add $75,000 to the proposed budget in Article 2, and that would bring us to everybody.
Yeah. $5,894,721.
So that would be the amendment that's on the floor. Do I have a second? Second. Do we have discussion on the amendment?
I have some questions that are related to the overall budget. Would this be appropriate time?
So the issue on the floor at the moment is the amendment for $75,000. Do the questions relate to the amendment?
Well, they do, because it relates to how those monies would be raised, and how that would impact the overall budget. Let's see, it was just the revenue portion that, okay, so it's all related. I guess I'll just I'll read what I had prepared, is what I'll do. So I just first of all
Is there a question in this, or is this?
There's several questions about how monies are raised.
Okay, let's take one question at a time.
Okay, so.
And I think these are going to the budget committee, or are these going to the board?
They are going to the board. I think that the budget committee and the school board both agree on the numbers in which I have questions about. Okay, so in the revenue portion.
Point of order, are we discussing the amendment? And
We are discussing the amendment, and what I was,
Your questions involve the amendment?
that was what I was just told.
Okay, thank you.
So if you can keep the focus pretty tight to the amendment, that's what's on the floor at the moment.
Okay, sure. Then it was stated that last year there were 15 teachers, or this year there were 15 teachers. Is it true that there were 15 teachers the previous year in 18-19?
Yes.
And how many teachers were there in certified classroom teachers in 17-18?
15.
Okay, so may I approach the board? May I approach the superintendent, please? Because I have a chart that was given to me by Principal Jane Slayton, and it outlines the numbers of students in classes in each box. That does not necessarily jive with what Principal Slayton had told me.
So as a point of order,
Yes.
what is on the floor is a $75,000 amendment to the budget in Article 2. This isn't an evidentiary hearing per se, so I'm going to rule that out of order and ask you to focus on the amendment.
Very good. So first of all, I just want to thank everyone at the board. And I've been involved in sort of looking at this budget for I don't know, 2 months now, when I went to the first board meeting, school board meeting in December, there was a concern about the need for a new boiler, and so I'm concerned about the monies being spent by the school board and the taxpayers. But I thank the board and the budget committee for all their hard work. I know it's a lot, and I've only been involved in it for two months, and it's a lot of work. I can tell you that, and I respect all that work and time. So thank you for that. But I would like to speak about losing this potential teacher. In the last several years, many parents, has been already shared, have seen their children's class size increase. In the fall of 2018, my 8-year-old daughter's class size doubled from kindergarten to first grade. It makes me sad to say this, but I think her learning that year was negligible. She was often bored, and because the well-meaning teacher was probably overwhelmed with his class size, almost doubling from what he was used to, from what I can tell by this chart that Jane provided, it hadn't been that large in about 7 years. So my daughter wasn't being challenged appropriately. For other kids, I know this is true too. So when I asked Principal Slayton for some history and enrollment in teachers, I looked at the chart she gave me and found that during the 2018-2019 school year, while there was not a significant decrease in enrollment from the previous year, in fact, it was a negative 5.2% decrease in enrollment, teachers shifted from the lower grades and class sizes increased in those grades significantly. For the first time in 7 years, classes in kindergarten, first, and second grades were each combined to form one class per grade instead of 2. Similarly, this was the first time in 5 years that the fourth grade was combined into one class as well. After enduring the 2018-2019 school year, I personally know 4 students who moved to an area private school specifically because of an increase in class size. I know of one other who moved into the area but chose not to attend AMS because of this reason that I'm stating. Okay, I think that's maybe enough. There are studies, actually my husband found this morning. It's the most influential, incredible study on classroom size. It's called the STAR study, done in Tennessee in the 80s, and it confirms that students in classrooms with fewer students, that's 13 to 17 students, performed 8 and 9% better on standardized reading and math tests respectively. That might not sound like a lot, but that takes a score from the 81st percentile and puts someone at the 90th percentile. The students in the smaller class sizes were also more likely to enroll in college. So these studies have shown that a long-term investment in reducing class sizes under 17 students has shown economically, as far as potential future earnings for those students, a 6% long-term return on education. Investing in our students' education is critical. Because why? Because in a globalized 21st century economy, where our children will compete with educated workers worldwide, they will need to have the best education possible. And I also, a question is, I know from this chart that Principal Slayton had given me that there was a 10-year average of incoming kindergartners. The average was 24 students. So is there any reason that the school board believes that we would have many fewer kindergartners entering into the school this year, that it would deviate? I think Janet initially said that 12 to 14 kindergartners had currently registered that we know of, but can we assume that we would have about the same amount of incoming kindergartners as we've had in the last 10 years?
Who is best suited to take that question?
I can give it a shot. Right now in first grade, we have 19 students. And right now the class sizes range. We have our larger class sizes just based on year are in the middle school right now. We always allocate our personnel resources based on what we know. Based on what we know right now, unless there's a lot of kids that move in between now and the beginning of next year, we project that we'll have 18 kindergarten students.
Okay, and that's...
Which is not all that difficult from the 19 that we'll have in second grade next year.
Okay. Well, my daughter is in second grade.
I'm going to ask
Okay.
that if you had, do you have any, this is one chance to speak, and do you have any more
Is
questions?
that it? That's my
Yes.
last chance for the
Yeah.
whole meeting?
On this article?
on this article. I think that's it.
Okay, great.
Mark, with all due respect, and I do have a lot of respect for what you're telling us, but to go back to, when you explained that the incoming kindergarten class is projected to be 18, I don't think we need 2 kindergarten classes to split 18 kids, but a lot of the classes that we do have are much larger than that. We have a few, if I'm understanding correctly, that are in the mid-20s for one class. Is that right?
Yep, we have a third grade next year. I'm using projected numbers for next year. We'll have a third grade class will have 24 students, and a fourth grade class will have 23 students.
In my opinion, I think it would be a little more prudent to maintain the teaching position and split one of those larger classes, or I know there's other factors, maybe it's not the sheer class size, but it's the dynamics of the learning abilities within the class. But it might make sense to maintain that buffer and split those classes down into one of those classes into a more manageable size, because you said 5 to 7 is not ideal. Well, I don't think we're talking about a grade of 10 kids or 12 kids, right? So we're not talking 5 to 7, we're talking 12 or 13. So in my opinion, I would support, though there's been a lot of confusion in the last few minutes, I would support an amendment in the budget to increase it $75,000 to maintain all the teaching positions that we currently have. And I'm seeing Jane nod her head. So though you said you weren't arm wrestling, I'd love to hear Jane's opinion on this, because it sounds to me like she doesn't want to lose the position either. So I would love to hear what she has to say.
Recognize Jane, please.
All right, I definitely don't want to lose the position. I know Molly has great intentions, but much of the math interpretation has been incorrect, and the graphs are understandably very confusing. She was trying to match student enrollment with homeroom teachers, and that doesn't always include all of our classroom teachers. We haven't decreased any classroom teachers over the years. I think we have shifted where we have separated classes, and we currently have larger class sizes in grades 1, 2, and 3, and smaller classes in the middle school. And that's not something that we've been used to doing or have done over the years. However, this year we had a teacher resign mid-year. The position was quickly filled, but in the process the position was contracted as a one-year position, so that's where the decrease came in. This does mean that we will go into next year with one classroom teacher less than what we have now. This is concerning, as our class sizes this year are much larger than we'd like, and student enrollment will remain pretty consistent for next year with that one less teacher. Again, being the class sizes of first, second, and third grade. We anticipating incoming kindergarten of 18 students. We will graduate 30 8th graders. But the numbers can change. Like last year, the way we divided classes up, we thought we had third grade all worked out, and we had 4 or 5 third graders all move into the district. So it's kind of a moving target. As far as projecting kindergarten, we count. Gail Peranto gets the census. She's counting babies as they're born in town. We try to account for everything we can. We call the area preschools, we track down everybody we can, but it really is hard to judge. So we would be going in with one less teacher, and it's already a balancing act right now. So certainly it would be advantageous to keep the teaching position.
And I could just add one thing to that. I would just say that in our collaborative dealings with the budget committee, in an attempt to strike balance with the needs of the budget committee when it comes to fiduciary matters, and as well as the juxtaposed position of oftentimes effectively meeting student needs. This was something that the school board brought forward in collaboration with the budget committee on that particular aspect, knowing full well that the democratic process would take over, and we're very happy to hear folks speaking in favor of adding another teacher. I think that's great. We're not going to tell you how to vote on that. It's not our job. It's our job to work in collaboration with the budget committee to bring forward what we think is a responsible budget, and hopefully the will of the legislative body, those who are gathered here today, will lead us to walking away with what we feel is a budget that is respectful of taxpayers, and most importantly, serves the needs of all of our students. So I do want to say that there is no nefarious plan to make the jobs of our teachers harder. What we're trying to do is strike that effective balance when it comes to our annual ask for your hard-earned tax-paying dollars. So our attempt is to be fiscally conservative while understanding that we're trying to meet the diverse needs of next year 234 unique kids. And it goes without saying that more personnel, more trained personnel makes that job easier. And as I referenced earlier, very, very talented teachers. And so when we have Mr. Hubbard back there, who I saw raising his hand that there were 5 third graders who moved in, we're lucky that we have such skilled teachers. We're lucky that the large class size that that Gretchen has worked with has, that we have people who can do that. And teaching is not an easy job. That's why you get vacations and weekends off. But I just wanted to reference that really the attempt right there is to be financially conservative while hoping through our talented personnel that we can meet the unique needs of our learners.
Yes, you do. Oh, could you give what part?
Well, I just wanted to speak to the fact that I have been through an awful lot of situations, and perhaps people know this. I will stand up.
And identify yourself, please.
Gretchen Hildebrand, 89 Lawrence Street. I've had a class. Anyway, I've had a class where there were 32 students in a room that the school board many, many years ago lied about how big it was. And I had to get parents on board to move those students to a bigger class, but it was still 32 kids. And that was horrible. And if there are any of you in the building right now, you might address that with me and tell me just what you thought. I've had, the hardest class I ever had was only a group of 12 kids. There were so many special needs in the group that it didn't matter that there was such a small group. I was just out of luck unless I had many specialists helping me out. And by the time the year was half over, half of those kids had IEPs. It's just the way it felt. In that way, I agree completely with Superintendent McLean that it depends on the type of class you have, and it varies every single year. You get different kids, different mixes, different personalities, different learning styles. But one trend that we have seen over the last 5 or 6 years, and the reading specialist has been speaking with us about this too, is that kids come to school with a big deficit in their ability to begin to learn to read. And I believe that a lot of it has to do with technology, with the new way kids are being raised. It's not anyone's particular fault, it's just the way of the world. But we have a huge job cut out for us in the last several years. Many young kids are way behind already. Now, I would certainly not want to get rid of a teaching position because this year with my 24 students, I've had the benefit of having a registered, full-time, wonderful teacher who's part Title I and part regular classroom teacher in my room for almost 2 hours every afternoon, helping with reading groups and with specialized phonics instruction. And if we lose a teacher, then we're going to lose that opportunity for kids in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. I really don't want to see that happen.
You recommending pre-K, Gretchen?
Huh?
Won't come out. I know most of you are thinking, here comes an old guy to complain about taxes. I was going to say an old fart going to bitch about taxes, but you're not supposed to use that kind of language, I guess. I had the advantage of a good public school education, K through 12. And the time has come now for me to support the education of the kids at school now. It's payback time. I had a free education, just like most of you did, but now comes the time, taxes or whatever you want to call it, to pay it. And that's what I intend to do. Now, from what I'm hearing, we've got class sizes that are getting larger. I can't think of anything more important than the education and the safety of the kids in this community. And if we need more teachers, we should pay for more teachers. Yeah, I hate paying taxes, we all do. But I want the kids here to get the best possible education they can in one of the finest communities in this state. So if somebody thinks this is not a good idea to add some staff support, I'd like to hear from you. Thank you.
Carla Levesque, 19 Channel Road. I don't have enough expertise in the area of child development to be able to speak pro or con to the number of teachers. I do notice that the school board recommended that we lower the by one position. Just recently, I began attending the budget committee hearings. I became the recording secretary. And I heard people in the community who have lived here all their lives and whose children, and who were raised here, whose parents were raised here. This appears to be an intergenerational community where kids know their grandparents. And one lady at the budget committee said that she was being taxed out of town. I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Hawaii, both very transient communities. I do not know my grandparents. I could not recognize my cousins if they walked down the street. I have not seen my brothers in 10, 15 years because we are scattered. And I just thought it might be something to consider, the value to the children to be able to know their grandparents. That's all.
Can I just, a point of order, do we have a written amendment?
I'm working on that.
Thank you.
Kyle Tremblay, 38 Lawrence Street. I would just like to speak from, I do have a background in mental health. I'm a licensed clinical social worker with the Board of Mental Health in the state of New Hampshire. And I just would like to make the point about trauma-informed education as well, and the statistics about relationships with young people. And I think when our ratios in the classroom go down, our teachers are less able to make those strong connections and those interpersonal connections. And we do have students coming from all walks of life. We do have students being raised by grandparents. We know we're facing an opioid crisis. It's not, we're not immune to here in Andover. And I would just like to add that point. Yes, there's lots of reading and learning going on, but there's also, when we reduce the amount of interaction we have with students, we take away their ability. There's a lot of research that says if young children connect with just one adult in their life, their expectancy to succeed goes up tremendously. And so I just would love to, I know that my children are thriving from the relationships that they have here at school. When after the 5th snowstorm and canceled day and I offered to homeschool them, they said, the first thing they said was like, no, I need my teacher in my life. I can't, and I had to tell them I was kidding. So that's happening here, and proof in my own home that that's happening here, and so I hate to see that reduced.
Ryan Murphy, 109 Route 4A. I've been here for a while. It's amazing. There's a couple places where we have a full-time teacher and we can juggle numbers. And I see it come and go, and teachers swapping. There's never been a full-time health teacher here in a long time. Foreign language, we use the VLAX program. Really great for some kids, not for others. Our library program, it's amazing what they do there, but it's not a real media program, media literacy. So there's a lot of places where we have needs. There might not be a classroom teacher. This is the second grade teacher. But there's definitely holes that could be filled, and just maybe this is something that could patch up, some of those places that we could get some really amazing programs that I think are in most other middle schools that are missing here. I don't know how far you have to drive to a big middle school and not have a health teacher. but I imagine it's a pretty good distance, or to not have a, family and consumer type program or something. Those are just needs that I'd love to see filled, and the kids love those classes. Those are the greatest classes. I remember when I was in middle school, health was amazing, and family and consumer science was amazing, and those are some things where the teachers kind of fill it in here and there, but it's not a real media program. It's not a real foreign language program. It's not a real health program, and health is huge. So that's something I'd love to see. If it happens this year, great. But as I get older in this town, I'd love to know that there's a health teacher here, teaching like how babies are made. It's important.